Hey guys, welcome back. And to all you new subscribers, thank you for giving this a watch. It's a brand new year, and I thought I would start by giving back. It was a long year, but making these videos has really helped pass the time away. So I wanted to thank you guys by doing a giveaway. Yep, you heard that right, or probably read the title of the video, but I wanted to do a giveaway. Since this is a Commander channel, I wanted to give one lucky subscriber one of the new Kaldheim Commander decks. To enter, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel and comment which deck you would want, either Elven Empire or Phantom Premonition. Please note this is unfortunately only for US residents, and that the contest will run till the end of January. Best of luck for those who enter, and now back to your normally scheduled Commander content. Alright, block there, kill that. That is trample. Guess I'm just dead on board. Today we have quite the game for you. It's a combo-tastic game of CEDH that shows both the power and frailty that combos give you in Commander. Starting off, we have Charles, who brought his Khazar Ukima Food Chain deck. For those that don't know, Food Chain is a powerful enchantment that lets you exile creatures to gain mana to spend on other creature spells. And paired with creatures that let you cast them from exile, you create infinite mana. He then casts and exiles his commander Ukima to drain the table out. Next off is King, piloting Brea. This version uses World Gorger Dragon to gain infinite mana, letting him cast his commander infinitely to take out his opponents. Third up is Legit, who brought a new commander to the table, Obeka, Heartless Chronologist. This is a Grixis Underworld Breach deck. Its goal is Underworld Breach, Lion's Eye Diamond, and either a Wheel or Brain Freeze to storm out and take out his opponents. And lastly, we have Porfs, who brought his Anawan Thassa's Consultation deck. Another consultation list, but this uses tribal strategies to accrue value and pressure his opponents while he looks to assemble his combo. But without further ado, let's get on to the gameplay. Charles starts off the game by cracking a wooded foothills for a tropical island and uses it to cast an Elvish Mystic. He follows it up with a Lotus Petal and then pays 2 life for a Gitaxian Probe to look at Porf's hand. He draws from the probe and passes. King starts his turn by shocking himself to play an untapped Sacred Foundry, and then plays a Chrome Mox, imprinting a dramatic reversal. After, he casts a Gamble and discards a Windfall. He then plays a Mana Crypt, passing after that. Legit has a quick turn, playing a Bloodstained Mire, passing. Horse plays a Snow-Covered Swamp and casts a Soul Ring. After that resolves, he uses it to cast a Mana Vault, and is done after that. Charles cracks another fetch, this being a Flooded Strand for an Underground Sea. He then casts his commander Ukima and passes after that. King rolls and takes no damage from the crypt. He then plays and cracks an Arid Mesa for a scrub land and passes after that. But on his end step, Legit cracks his Bloodstained Mire for an Underground Sea and uses it to cast a Vampiric Tutor. Legit starts off his turn by playing a Command Tower and then casting a Mystic Remora. It resolves and he passes after that. Porfs plays a Tainted Isle for turn and then casts an Una's Blackguard. Having nothing else, he passes. Charles shocks in an Underground Tomb and heads to combat, swinging Ukima at Legit, who takes it, and on his second main phase, Charles casts a Khazar, realizing he should have cast it pre-combat. After lamenting his order of operations, he passes. King rolls for Crypt and takes 3. After, he shocks in a Watery Grave and uses his mana to cast his commander, Brea. It resolves and gains him 2 Thopters. He passes after that. Legit pays for his fish and then doesn't have anything else, passing after that. Porf starts off by casting his commander, triggering his Blackguard to put a counter on Anawan, and then heads to combat, swinging the Blackguard at Charles, who takes the 2 and mills but doesn't hit a creature. At Porf's end step, King sacrifices the 2 Thopters for Brea to kill Ukima. Charles, in an act of revenge, uses a Nature's Claim to take out Brea, gaining King 4 life. This triggers Legit's fish, and he draws. Charles then heads to combat and sends the team at King, taking away the 4 life he just got and then triggering Khazar to add counters to his team. Having nothing else, he passes turn. King loses another Crypt trigger, taking 3, and then casts a Scroll Rack, triggering Legit's fish. He lets him draw from it, and after, King activates the Scroll Rack and sets his hand aside to draw a fresh set of 3 cards. He plays a Buried Ruins as land, and then casts an Entomb, letting Legit draw from the fish. He passes his turn to Legit as he searches out a World Gorger dragon. Legit pays for the fish and then plays a Verdant Catacombs as land and passes turn. Porf plays an island and heads straight to combat, swinging his board at Legit, who takes 5 and mills a creature, letting Porf draw. Legit also has to discard, discarding an underground river. Porf passes after that, and at his end step, Charles casts a Plunge into Darkness. Legit misses the fish trigger, and after it resolves, Charles pays 25 life and takes a card and exiles the rest, noting that he didn't hit any of the Cast from Exile creature cards. Charles on his turn heads straight to combat and swings his board at Porf for 6 damage. He gets the counters and then, on his second main phase, attempts to cast a Food Chain, letting Legit draw off the fish. After the draw, Legit cracks his Verdant Catacombs for an untapped Watery Grave and uses it to cast a Spell Pierce. Wanting his Food Chain to resolve, Charles fires back with a Spell Pierce of his own, having to sacrifice the Lotus Petal for mana. Legit draws off his fish, and not having another response passes priority to Porf, who casts a counterspell, letting Legit draw off the fish again. The stack resolves and Food Chain is countered, and not having anything else, Charles passes after that. King takes another 3 from the crypt and then casts a Tainted Pact, letting Legit draw from the fish. It resolves and he starts exiling cards till he finds a Necromancy, having to exile most of his library to find it though. He then casts Necromancy, letting Legit draw from the fish, and in response, Porf casts a Dark Ritual, letting Legit draw, and then a Fatal Push, targeting Elf, letting Legit draw again, hoping you'd find an answer. Unfortunately, Legit does not find anything and the Necromancy resolves. The Necromancy reanimates the dragon, but unfortunately, because King's lands are 2 shocks, he can only produce infinite white and black mana, and 12 of some combination of blue and red. After he is done flickering his board for an infinite amount of times, he then has Reanimate target Charles's Elvish Mystic to end the chain. He then casts Breya and sacrifices her and one of her Thopters to gain 5 life. Knowing that he can't win, he instead keeps sacrificing Breya to gain 5 life. After a few times, he ends up at 32 with 5 Thopter tokens. Legit starts off his turn by playing an Exotic Orchard and then a Lion's Eye Diamond. He casts a Talisman of Dominance and then transmutes a Muddle of the Mixture to find a Tainted Pact, passing and discarding down to hand size. Porf plays a Drowned Catacombs and then heads to combat, swinging his board at Legit for 5. Legit mills 5 but doesn't hit a creature, and on his second main phase, Porf casts a Knowledge Exploitation for its Prowl cost, casting an Ad Naus from Charles, to which Legit Pact of Negations the Ad Naus. Porf follows it up with a Mononic Betrayal. Porf casts both Lotus Petals and then a Chrome Mox, imprinting a Reanimate. He then sacks a Lotus Petal to cast Legit's Vamp Tutor, and in response, King tries and Drown in the Loch the Tutor, to which Porf uses Legit's Pact of Negation to counter it. Porf finds a card and then casts Charles's Git Probe to look at Legit's hand and to draw the tutored card. Porf then casts a Mana Crypt and then casts Charles's Ad Naus. It resolves, but not having any more fast mana, Fernando takes 12 and gains some cards and then passes to Charles. Charles has a quick turn playing a Nurturing Peatland for land, and nothing else. King finally wins a Crypt trigger and then heads to combat. He swings 3 Thopters at Porf and 2 at Charles. They both take it and King passes after that. Legit pays for his pact and then plays a Flooded Strand as his land, passing after that. And at his end step, Porf flashes in a Thieves Guild Enforcer, which ETBs and mills each player, as well as gets a counter from the blackguard. Porf also pays for his pact and manages to win the Crypt trigger. He plays an Underground Sea as land and then heads to combat, swinging the blackguard at King, and the Enforcer and Anawan at Legit, who mills a creature, letting Porf draw, and Legit also has to discard 2 cards. Leaving up some mana, Porf passes after that. Charles plays a tapped Darkslick Shores and then passes the turn. King loses another Crypt trigger and then taps the Scroll Rack to set 1 aside. In response, Legit cracks his Flooded Strand to grab a Volcanic, and then King heads to combat, swinging 5 Thopters at Porf, who takes the damage. King passes after that. Legit starts off his turn by casting his own Tainted Pact, which resolves and he stops at an Underworld Breach. He then casts a breach, and in response, Porf tries and swan song it, to which Legit fires back with a swan song of his own. Porf gets his bird, and with the breach still in the stack, King Pact of Negations it.
Yeah.
Oh, chat kinda fucked up, man.
Damn.
Not having a response, Legit passes.
I guess the fifth person to go for it will probably win, right?
Porf takes 1 from the mana vault and loses the crypt trigger, taking another 3. He plays an untapped Sunken Hollow as land, and then heads to combat. He swings the 2/2 bird at King, the Blackguard at Charles, and the Enforcer and Anawan go at Legit. King mills 2, but doesn't hit a creature, while Legit discards the remaining 2 cards in his hand, and mills 8, hitting a creature, letting Porf draw. On his second main phase, Porf prowls in a notorious Throng, giving him X fairy tokens where X is the damage dealt to his opponents this turn, and an extra turn. And in response, Charles flashes in a Hull Breacher, to which Porf counters it with an Anti-Cognition, scrying 2 to the bottom. He gets a total of 12 fairy rogues and then passes to his extra turn. Porf loses 4 from the Mana Vault and the Crypt. He then casts a Lotus Petal and then a Narset, Part of the Veils. He -2s to grab a Vamp Tutor and then heads to combat. He swings the bird and the Blackguard at Charles. The fairy tokens go at King, and the Enforcer heads at Legit. After attackers, King attempts a Chain of Vapor on Anawan, to which Porf mana drains it. Still before damage, King sacrifices 4 Thopters to kill Anawan, preventing himself from dying but still killing off the other players. He then sacks the final Thopter and Brea to deal 3 damage to Porf, taking him out and winning the game. Game review. This game was definitely a roller coaster of combos and counterspells. Every player attempted to go off on their own, but were stopped. I did want to mention that there were some questionable plays throughout the game, whether it being King not realizing he couldn't make infinite mana due to his Shocklands, or on Porf's combo turn with the Betrayal, he could have Chain of Vapored his own fast mana, since the Betrayal lets him use mana of any type to cast cards out of his graveyard. This would have allowed him to go off with Adnos and probably Thassa's, assuming he had enough life to draw his deck. But overall, this was a fun and powerful game that really showcases that while combos are king in CEDH, they can be stopped. I hope you enjoyed the gameplay, and if you did, leave a like and consider subscribing, as it really helps us keep making videos. And remember, never give up, even if you're dead on board. I'll see you guys later.